Good morning and welcome to SF Live, episode 260. My name is Sam Ash. I'm the CEO of Bunker Hill Mining. And just before we get started, Soar Financial does own shares in Bunker Hill. And with that, we'll get started. Kai?
Fantastic. Sam, wonderful. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Best intro we've had on the program so far. Absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. It's great to catch up again. And it's been a couple weeks. And you just put out an operational update, and it's quite exciting because production is on the horizon. You're moving closer and closer towards it. Run us through maybe the highlights of the press release, and I've got a couple of questions prepared to dig a little deeper on what you put out this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a couple of weeks since we were out providing an update, and it's been quite a busy time here at Bunker Hill. We've been really moving forward in a couple of areas. Probably the one that is most interesting to me is the development, the underground development. We have our contracting crew has started the first and main primary access to the mineralization, and that's really exciting. They're performing very, very well, and we're well on track on the development following several weeks worth of rehabilitation, and then. In the water treatment front and on the environmental front, we've started a pilot water treatment plant. It's a 1/20th scale of the actual water treatment plant that we will be building and constructing. And the test work is going on right now, and looks very, very positive. And then in addition to that, we've begun the process of working on the surface facilities to prepare for the relocation of the pond array processing plant. So a lot of cleanup, a lot of preparation of laydown space, both in the yard and also in a lot of the existing infrastructure buildings, which will really house all of those components and warehousing and shop facilities for us. So it's been a really pretty busy few months.
No, fantastic. Yeah, no, I've been to site, so the infrastructure is pretty much existent. And you included a couple photos in the press release as well. And since you mentioned site preparation, why don't we start there? Of the existing infrastructure, existing buildings, how much do you have to modify?
Well, the buildings are really in really very, very good shape. So it's a matter of refurbishment and repurposing to our designs and needs for our operating plan going forward. So, there's a little bit of relocation of electrical power lines and infrastructure, piping, and then internally there's freshening up and taking care of some maintenance that was kind of neglected at times over the past 40 years. But all in all, we really are talking about a refresh and a remodel, and certainly not a rebuild.
Yeah, I actually wanted to follow up because if you do a rebuild, or even if you change the structures, I think you have to re-permit again. Is that correct? Or you have to at least seek approval or something from the authorities.
Well, look, it's very much like doing a remodel on your own house. So you certainly have to work with the county building inspector and make sure that if you're doing any structural modifications that you have the proper building permits in place. But that's all at a very local level, and all through actually the Shoshone County, which is the local county that we're located in.
Yeah, I think they have their office about a 40-yard walk from your facility. Is that correct? I think that's where the admin office is, right?
That's about right. So that they don't have to walk far to keep an eye on what we're doing, and we're working well with them.
No, fantastic. No, it's good to have those working relationships. I was on a site visit, so I got to see that as well. You live in Kellogg, so it makes a huge difference. Let's start with the underground or follow up with the underground development. It continues at pace. It mentions let's drill down a bit on cost. Have you seen any changes in cost developments? How are you doing on budget? And of course, what's the reasoning for more underground development?
Yeah, absolutely. So that development is the key first piece of underground infrastructure. It's around an 1,800-foot decline, and that really is the key piece of infrastructure that unlocks our access to roughly a third of the mineral resource that came out in the most recent mineral resource update late last year. And what's very impressive and very encouraging from my perspective is that the contractor's performance, both on a productivity and advance rate, but also on a unit rate, are exactly as we had projected and forecasted, which really leads a lot of credence to some of the financial assumptions that we're busy incorporating in the pre-feasibility, which is still on track to come out by the end of June.
Yeah, you mentioned the feasibilities. Like, I have a couple more questions. I know you mentioned in the press release that you haven't really made a decision yet on underground or putting the mill at surface, but you indicated that and we briefly discussed just infrastructure on surface. Has a decision been made? Are you going to keep everything at surface?
Yeah, some of those trade-offs have been decided, but we're still doing some of the final detail of the technical work to make sure that's all packaged together. And I don't really want to, not able to kind of prejudge the final outcomes, but certainly, the pre-feasibility is going to articulate a path forward that's based on a lot of technical work and a lot of pretty intense trade-off studies.
Since I have you, Simon, I do have to ask, and I will punish myself for not asking, but with the pre-feasibility study coming out, can you give us a couple of hints, like what to look out for, like in terms of costs? Like, obviously cost inflation has been the topic of any study that came out the last 6 to 12 months. Is there anything you can give us a bit of guidance on?
Well, absolutely. I think the first thing I would say is that the pre-feasibility is really the foundation of that is our most recent mineral resource update. You'll notice when you refer back to that, you'll look at what we have to work with at a pre-feasibility level is the 6.7 million tons of measured and indicated material. So when you think about that, you can kind of think about what that means from a mine life perspective. We certainly think that the opportunity to convert and continue to convert inferred resources into that measured and indicated is very, very high. But needless to say, at a pre-feasibility level, the plan and the economics will be based on that measured and indicated material. I think that would be the first kind of directional guidance. And then I would say that the fundamentally, as we've gone through that process of doing the technical work to advance from a PEA level to a pre-feasibility level, there were certainly a number of trade-offs that were done. You mentioned one, the location of the plant, surface versus underground. There was numerous trade-offs around underground infrastructure and development, strategies around ore haulage and material transport. So you're going to see all of those come together in the pre-feasibility. So one should expect that there will be, a little bit of scope change and an approach change as we move from a PEA to a PFS, which is really quite normal. But directionally, what I can say is that from what we're seeing right now, as we come into the closing weeks and buttoning everything up and getting the last bit of work done, is that directionally, we still have a high margin, low capex restart project on our hands.
Fantastic. And release of the PFS in the next 6 weeks. I think it was guided for Q2 2020. 2022. Sorry. So yeah. Okay. Within the next 6 weeks. Okay. Is it going to be a PDAC release, eh?
we will see.
I don't know. PDAC has that attraction. It's interesting. It doesn't matter if it's in March or in June. Companies will always plan around PDAC, which is good because it's the leading industry event. So you want to have something to talk about. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. A couple of things I've noticed in the press release: preparation for EPCM. You're getting the site ready. You briefly mentioned it, that you're cleaning up some things on site. Like, can you elaborate a little bit what that means? Like, have you talked to EPCM contractors? Has that been demanded by them, or why did you start the process already?
Well, we certainly, as you would know, have the detailed engineering work underway, particularly with the processing plant and the relocation of the Ponderay mill. That work is advancing and advancing well. And we've begun to have initial conversations and commercial conversations with various opportunities for the PCM part of the EPCM, so that project management and construction piece. So we have several conversations ongoing right now, and we're moving towards making some important final decisions in that regard. What's interesting is that here in northern Idaho, we have local options, which when you're talking about construction and going right back to that inflationary pressure, it's an advantage for us. We're not looking at a construction management and a construction project in a remote environment, in a camp environment. We envisage that construction management partner will be local, at least regionally in nature, and ideally even closer to home.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, that does make a difference if you don't have to build a camp, but also you don't have to fly in expats. As you're well aware, you used to work in Zambia, if I recall correctly. So that's never an easy task. Another thing that jumped out at me in the press release is, and I think you mentioned 4 or 5 times, is potential toll milling opportunities and pre-production revenue. And I have to ask you about that. What could that look like, and how does that factor in potentially construction costs? And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I'm getting quite excited about pre-production revenues and how you could potentially bank on those.
Well, absolutely. So as we've talked, at Bunker Hill, right from our first conversation, Kai, is that our access and the development in the underground is really one of our strengths. So we have the ability to access and execute, a sustainable ore delivery and mining well in advance of the construction and commissioning of a process plant. So we are busy talking to processing facilities and mining operations that are in close proximity. And when I say that, in the Silver Valley, all within about 15 to 20 miles from site, and having multiple conversations about the opportunities that exist to generate ore coming out of the mine, and then look to monetize that in the pre-production period, either through a toll milling agreement or an ore purchase agreement.
Okay, interesting. Well, I wish you all the best for that. I can't wait to see an announcement on that. And I hope it comes. Do you think you'll give some guidance on timing? I find it really interesting because are off-takers waiting the PFS so they can wrap their head around some metrics?
Well, certainly that's part of it, but just directionally from a project timeline, when you look at the development and that and this first key piece of infrastructure, that 1,800 feet, we're looking to have that completed this year, and that's the key piece that unlocks the ability to be in a position to generate ore in a pre-production period.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm happy you're developing that decline, because climbing those ladders on the site visit that took it out of me. So
it is. It's an interesting tour and an interesting walk back in time, but certainly our approach with a very modern and mechanized approach, that first 1,800 feet of development is very, very key to us.
Oh, fantastic. Sam, what some of the next steps for the company? Obviously, we talked PFS. That's probably the next biggest news item. What else can we look forward to?
Well, you can look forward to progress on the mill relocation from Pend Oreille. I would certainly expect to see and be able to release updates on progress in that regard, update on progress to technical milestones. And I think also, look forward to some of the opportunities that we're looking at around optimization and further unlocking of value at Bunker Hill, and also with the joint venture in Colorado. So we're gonna work on keeping the market as updated as possible. There's a lot of exciting news to share, but we are going to be entering a period where the nature of those updates are more milestone driven against project. So
looking forward to seeing a lot of photos, maybe some time lapses from the mill build. So But
Absolutely.
it's always good material. I love seeing those on Twitter or social media being circulated. So looking forward to seeing those. I'm going to hold you accountable to those because I like them.
All right.
Fantastic. Sam, great update. Really appreciate you coming on the program, clarifying the press, or not clarifying, but just elaborating on the press release this morning. And all the best to you. And I can't wait to come out to Idaho very, very soon again.
Absolutely. It would be great to have you down here, Kai. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And everybody else, thank you so much for joining us here. This was SF Live episode 260, a bit of a longer conversation with Sam Ash about the news release this morning. And if you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to smash that like button as well, especially if you're an investor in the company or you're a sympathizer of the company. More investors will be able to see the video by hitting that like button. And please do subscribe to the channel or leave a comment in the description below. Thank you so much, and we'll be back with more content.